Hey everybody, it's me, Max, and welcome to another episode of Max Bytes. This is my mini podcast where I pretty much just try to comfort and encourage people and hopefully offer some clarity to what's going on in the world today. I hope everybody is doing good. Um, it's been a while, hasn't it? I think it's been a few weeks actually. I haven't done one. They're really, I haven't I have to be interested really in something. It has to be big for me to do it. Sort of so it's infrequent unless there's like election season, then I'm doing a max bites like once every 5 to 7 days or something like that. But and we're gonna be getting there soon, I think, because it looks like we're gonna have a primary. Um okay. I had a ton of requests. I mean, a lot of requests. I haven't seen that many probably since I think the 2022 election when I was doing one of these like I said, every few days. Um, I had a ton of requests for the DeSantis Trump primary that's looking very likely, and I had request and just in general about the DNC primary, and I and of course, election 2024. And I will be giving regular updates on that. And we're going to have to start sooner rather than later. I didn't really think we would be doing these. Like I said, I think I told some people this just yesterday until, I don't know, probably this fall, but it looks like it's starting early. But okay, so this Max Bites is going to literally be DeSantis, Trump, and election 2024. So in that order, I guess, right? Let me just get into it and say I don't want a GOP primary. And I don't like primaries. Let me explain why, and bear with me here so you understand. I don't like primary elections. I said this last year all through the 2022 primaries because primaries are basically, everybody has a favorite and they just battle it out and we eat our own. Okay. And at the end of the day, a brutal primary, only helps the opposition with opposition research. I feel, and this is just my opinion, you may disagree with me. I feel that a tough or brutal primary this go around only helps Biden. It's not going to strengthen either Republican candidate or candidates, okay, plural. Now, with that sort of like the predication of what follows, that's sort of my introduction to it. What do I think of this idea of DeSantis running? I want to say up front, I like Ron DeSantis. I know I have some Ron DeSantis fans, or I should say people that prefer him over Trump following me. I like Ron DeSantis a lot. I think Ron DeSantis is a very good governor. I've wanted him to be the vice president for the last 2 years. Okay, so I don't think that's any secret to anyone. He's my first and really my last choice. Well, I would say it's my last choice, my first choice for Trump's running mate. I don't want to see. There's no reason for him to run it. He's so young and he's telegenic and he's just started his second term, which he won in a landslide. There's no reason for him to leave Florida and run against Trump. I don't understand this. See, if it was me, I would not be doing this. I would be doing all I can to see the GOP unified and running a lean, mean fighting machine of a campaign, whoever the candidate or the nominee is, which is going to be Donald Trump, obviously, but in 2024 and we defeat Biden. That's what everyone should be focused on. When we get into primaries, we divide. And when you divide, anybody that tries to divide you is probably working for the enemy. And that's what I always come back to. And I don't like this. And again, you guys know I am very consistent. I didn't get really involved at any primaries last year. Very rarely I'd even make a reference to one. It's like, okay, you guys are on this side, you guys are not. Here's what I see. And then I would give you my projection, which I think I got a 236. I got like 232 projections, right? The ones I missed, I think were well, I'm not going to use the F word, but you know what I'm saying. I think they were the result of something. You can fill in the blank. But the the way I look at it is why Why do we need this? And I can just say that, I know some people are, I would say probably 1 out of 4 Republicans are probably tired of Trump. I am a dedicated Trump supporter. I love Donald Trump. I wanted him to run for president in 2012. I was disappointed when he decided against it. I used to go on Greta Van Susteren, who I think is the greatest news journalist of the last 15 or 20, 25 years on television. And, I was waiting for him to announce, and he never did. When he ran in 16, because he actually started in 15, really, I was just 1,000% behind him. And I stayed there ever since. And it's really cool because I'm going to cast my vote for Trump for the third consecutive time in the GOP primary and in the general election, because I'm going to say something to you. He's going to be the nominee. Even if they have a brutal, dragged out primary, he's going to be the nominee, and I'll explain that in a few minutes why. But I just don't understand this, frankly. I think it's like we're on the same side, and I don't want to. I want to see us all get together and work towards something. But okay, some people, feel like, they want to change course, and I get that. How many of those people that are pushing it are never Trumpers and have ulterior motives? And I wonder about that. How many are using, because you got two men here who have egos. Let's be honest. They both have egos. And in the case of Ron DeSantis, with all due respect to the gentleman, people are fanning his ego. Oh, you can defeat Trump. No, you can't. You're not going to defeat Trump in the primary. You're running behind where Ted Cruz was. You're running behind other candidates that had a better shot at it. Even if do you know what Mitt Romney was at in 2012? He was at I think he was at like 27% in the GOP primary. He pretty much won the nomination, or kind of pulled enough ahead, around 30% of the primary vote. He didn't really have the party behind him. I never could find a Romney fan. Okay. And that's one of the reasons why he was no match for Barack Obama, who was in a horrible state at that point. I mean, his campaign was sputtering, and had he been up against a very strong candidate, opponent, who had the whole party apparatus behind him, the establishment and the insurgents, the Tea Party, I think Obama would have lost his reelection. He thought he was going to lose reelection. I've never seen someone other than Trump campaign harder than Obama in 2012. Maybe George Bush in 2004. He campaigned very hard too. But but you have a weak person there. He's got no chance. In fact, when you think about it, it's like the people that are really pushing, whether it's the Bushes, whoever it is, I've heard all kinds of rumors that who's what. You guys have heard the same rumors. Who's behind it? Getting Ron to run this cycle. It's like, well, if the establishment want him to run, what exactly has the establishment given us where we've actually won an election? Where have they been right about anything? Right? Mitt Romney in 2012, John McCain in 2008. George Bush in 2004 was an anomaly because of 9/11. That's the only reason he won re-election, I feel. In 2000, it was a court decision. It was a split decision, and for the rest of time, everyone's going to be arguing about the 2000 Florida recount. I mean, you can argue at both sides. 1996, it was Bob Dole. In 1992, it was George Herbert Walker Bush. The Republican Party split, with a lot of Perot supporters really being disenfranchised Republicans, and we ended up with Bill Clinton. So the only real election right out the door, honest one-on-one fight between two major candidates that the establishment has won, the last one before 16 really, was probably 1988. And that one there was because of Ronald Reagan. George Bush's victory over Michael Dukakis in 1988 was largely because he was riding the coattails of Reagan's popularity. So the establishment has I can't think of in several cycles where they've actually fielded a candidate and been right about it. The one-offs where they actually win an election are just these extraordinary circumstances, whether it's a recount in a state that's very close, that's separated by a few hundred votes, whether it's a major terrorist attack that just gives a president so much popularity that he was able to pull it together and get reelected. I don't really see that from the establishment. I see them giving us a string of losers. So when they argue that we need a disciplined candidate, and I've been reading that from some really great blogs, by the way. There's some really great bloggers out there that I read every day that I don't agree with. They're obviously on the Ron DeSantis bandwagon. I follow them. They follow me. I think they're great people, but I don't agree with them on this. This idea of discipline. Okay, what discipline? What does that mean exactly? You mean a gentrified Republican? That's my point. I've just kind of gone through a cycle of them where they haven't ever won. Reagan was an insurgent candidate in 1988. 1980. Excuse me for that. 1980. He was an insurgent candidate. He was the radical cowboy governor from Colorado. I was going to say California, that raged against the establishment, the machine, and defeated George Bush in the primary. And those two guys hated each other. And he was essentially the populist candidate in that election. Went on to win the general election. He was not an establishment figure. He may have made friends with the establishment. The first thing he did to make friends with the establishment was ask George Bush to be his running mate. That's an important note to what I'm saying here today. If the establishment really want Ron DeSantis, okay, and Ron DeSantis really wants to be president, I don't really have a problem with him being president. I mean, I don't care who the nominee is I do care, but I mean, whoever the nominee is on the Republican ticket next year, I'm voting for. Okay, I'll climb over fire and coal and whatever the cliches that are usually said to actually vote for that person. If it's Donald Trump, I'll do it 10 times. I mean, not really, but I mean, figuratively speaking. But, it's like, as far as I'm concerned, if we have a Trump DeSantis ticket, and Rasmussen reports said this in some posts last week, they ran a sponsored poll. And they said if it's a Trump DeSantis ticket up against Biden and Harris, Trump DeSantis win 51-43 over Biden and Harris. That's huge. I mean, that's way outside the margin of error. That's my point. You're unifying the party. The establishment get what they want. The majority of it is the populace, the MAGA Republicans like us. They get what they want. President Trump, God love him, he's only going to be president for 4 more years at max because he's term limited. So you'll have Trump in there for 4 years. He can do what I think he should be focused on in that 4 years, besides securing the border, cleaning out the Department of Justice and the FBI. That would be my opinion, his gift to the American people, just across the board. Doesn't matter which your political spectrum is, restoring justice to the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And then DeSantis would be being prepped for running in 2028. And theoretically, we could end up with 12 years of Republican rule. Because I think, frankly, if we end up with a Trump DeSantis ticket, Trump and DeSantis are going to win. Okay? And not only are they going to win, they're going to win bigly, to use the president's corruption of the president's term, big league. I know what he's saying. And DeSantis, I think, is definitely would be. Who's going to run against him in 2028? Newsom? That's what I think would probably end up happening. It'd be like East versus West. And what should end up having is the vice president winning, and then he's definitely going to get reelected. So that's what I would love to see. And that may happen. I mean, I think it's as good a chance of it happening as any. But the fact is, if we end up with a primary battle this year, and let me just back up here. You think of yourself for a minute. Well, Trump and DeSantis running against each other, Trump will never pick him as his vice president. I don't know about that, guys, because let me say something to you. Trump had an enemy in Ted Cruz, and they became pretty good. They worked together when he became president. Marco Rubio campaigned very hard, along with Ron DeSantis, for Donald Trump in 2020 in Florida. Do you remember the crazy primary in 2016. It was fun. It was hilarious. Those GOP debates. Do you remember Trump being flanked by another Floridian Republican who was telegenic and very articulate and knew how to debate? Marco Rubio. He was once considered the darling of the GOP. You go back in time 10, 11 years ago, he was like one of the top Republicans. Ted Cruz was another one who was flanking Trump. Another good debater. Very good on constitutional law. These two men went at Trump like nobody's business. He went through them like they weren't even there. And you say, well, they were splitting the vote and all that kind of stuff. Whatever. The fact is this, Trump's at 50, 60 something percent, I mean, he wasn't even near that in 2016. I think he was sitting at around, I don't have to think, he was sitting at different points, the 30s and the 40s. That's pretty much where he was through most of the primary. Go back and look at the numbers. It wasn't until the very end where he started pulling way above 50% consistently. At this point, there's no, you can put him on that debate stage. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to go after, and I hate to see him go after Ron DeSantis like that, and I'd hate Ron DeSantis to respond, because all they'll do is throw mud back and forth at each other, and they're like, guys, come on. Like, can we just get together here? But I will say this, no matter what, because some people ask me this, well, Max, he'll never pick him after. No, I'm like, no, that's not true. Remember what Trump did with Lindsey Graham, how he kind of like was mocking him the entire time he was running back in 2016. They ended up working very closely together. So there are ways Trump ends up making up with people when he has to. And so I have hope for that. And there's historical precedent for this. You go back to 1980, Ronald Reagan hated George Bush, and George Bush really hated Ronald Reagan. Remember voodoo economics? So do I think that, can two rivals get together at the convention even that late? Sure, absolutely. For the sake of the country and the party, especially when it's looking like, you look at these numbers now, I mean, Biden's losing everything. Absolutely. But I'm not going to buy into this whole thing. To me, there's no, like, we need a MAGA candidate, but we need somebody who's MAGA, but more disciplined than Trump. We like Trump's policies. We like what Trump's accomplished as president, but we don't think he's disciplined enough to do it again. What the heck does that mean? I don't know. I'm reading these articles. I don't even know what that means. That's like nuts. That's like, you like everything about what this man has accomplished, but you don't think he's and we're back to that discipline word. I've heard that for what? How long have we been listening to the word discipline applied to Trump? He's not disciplined. Of course he's not disciplined. I think he's actually doing a pretty good job these days, frankly, with these policy proposals he keeps putting out and everything. I've never seen a man really trying to come. I want to see him in a debate again. I kind of hope that him and Ron DeSantis end up on the debate stage, because I'd like to see actually him go through policy. I think he's prepping for that, probably privately, but I don't have to think it. I know it. But here's the thing. When we talking about a snake pit here, this is what we're talking about in Washington, D.C. You got to drop in a snake. I mean, I said the same thing in 2016. I said, you don't need a politician. You need a wrecking machine. And I think, I don't have to think, I know again that that's Donald Trump. But I'm not saying that Ron is not a tough guy, and I'm not saying that he can't win a general election. I'm not even going to that. I'm not going to even discuss that. The bottom line is, at the end of the day, Trump has been in worse circumstances. This primary is not going to be like 2016, where we really didn't know. I mean, I was back in Trump, but it wasn't 100% certain until we could get to over a certain point. At this point, right out the door, I don't see the point in running against him. Even look at the numbers. It's not going to change. What do you think? You're going to get on the debate stage and you're going to embarrass Trump? And he can't. I've never seen him defeated in a debate. Do you remember him one time when he was defeated? The only debate where I thought he could have done better was the first debate with Joe Biden. I always felt that Trump could have done a little bit better on that. I thought he was maybe too aggressive, if that's like, he was like, well, way too, but I thought he could have just pulled back. I would have pulled back a little if I was coaching him myself at that time. But absent that, and you disagree with me on that, I don't see him really, I mean, on debate, I don't know. And I'm not going to take but here's the thing, I'm not going to take pot shots at Ron. I've seen some of my followers calling him and his supporters names. Hey guys, we're all on the same team. Okay, we're all on the same team. We all have one goal: Biden out of the White House next year. I'm going to do everything I can over the next, year and a half to make that a reality. After January 20th, 2025, I hope to just breathe a sigh of relief and feel like 1,000% better, because we have to get that. We have to defeat him next year. And I'll be talking more about all that kind of stuff and the details and how we go about that over the next, 18, 20 months, whatever it is. I don't even know. But we need, not even 8, it's like 16 months or something. But we need to work towards that. But again, just summing it up, and I hope this made some sense to people and gave you my thoughts on it. Ron's not going to be the nominee. That's just, it's not going to happen. Okay. You may disagree with me. That's fine. I hope we don't end up having a brutal primary, because I don't see it as helping anybody but the opposition. I don't see it's, to me, I hate it's not illogical. It's not logical. It's completely illogical. Why? When you can join forces. Little caveat. I know some people will say, well, Max, they can't be from the same state. Very simple solution for someone like Trump. All he needs to do is relocate to Nevada. That's his third home anyway. So he relocates to Nevada, and then technically you have the candidates from different states. He just literally changes his residency. He did it once already. He can do it again. Remember, he was a New York resident when he ran in 2016. So he was a Florida resident in 2020. In 2024, he can be a Nevada resident. Some people say New Jersey. I'm like, why? Go to Nevada. That's a state he has a good shot at winning, by the way. So let's definitely re-examine this I will be doing it in a future Max Bytes. But I just don't want to see this happen. If it happens, and it looks like it's going to happen, maybe it won't, up in the air. I would like to see them join forces at some point. Some people have said maybe this is a big feint. Maybe they're going to shake hands on the campaign trail and then shock the world and unify. I mean, I hope so, man. That would be fantastic. But to me, that's just it. I just don't believe that it's going to be Trump, and I just don't want to see these two guys just go at each other. I don't really see it as being benefiting the party, and it certainly doesn't benefit our cause. It only helps the opposition, and that's my feeling on it. But I love all of yous, and I know some of you are going to be voting some ways, and some others will be voting the other. I'm not going to sit here and take pot shots. I'm not going to use my channels to take favorites, to take sides. You all know I'm a Trump supporter, so that's it right there. I put that out there, but I'm going to be objective in what's going on. And if DeSantis is pulling ahead, I'm going to report he's pulling ahead in the primary. If that's what it comes down to, I will objectively analyze it and give you my objective views on it. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this Max Bytes. I do them every so often. This one was a little longer than usual. Typically, I try to keep them in just a few minutes. I want to let you know that I'll be discussing all of this, and I do this ad nauseum, if I could put it like that, on almost a daily basis, literally a daily basis, almost around the clock, on Maximus Premium. If you'd like to join Maximus Premium, my premium service is fantastic. You get access to my private channels, my private chats, my private my premium articles. You get access to you get discounts on my seminars. You get access to my full podcasts, which go sometimes as long as 2+ hours. So if you want all that, contact Roxy Balboa, the number 1 at gmail.com. The contact information's in the description below. Click it. She'll sign you up for Maximus Premium. Literally, everybody likes Maximus Premium when they're there. They just absolutely have a great time. We have a great group of VIPs. Alternately, you can become one of the several hundred people who have signed up for Max Tracks, my newsletter. That's really killer. A lot of people, it's like premium light is what it basically is. So if you would just rather do that, you can sign up for Max Tracks. Again, contact Roxy. She'll get you signed up for that. I have another seminar coming up. Civics Maximus for Young Scholars is going to be June 23rd and the 24th. I do this one annually. That's what it's becoming, and it is a very popular seminar. It is also my most inexpensive seminar. So if you're interested in attending that, you can do that. It's geared towards kids, but I'll be teaching on American history, Articles 1, 2, and 3 of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, you name it. We'll be going through republic versus democracy, the history of these concepts. over 2 days. It's really, really a lot of fun, and a lot of adults, well, they are signing up for it. I mean, I always have a lot of adults that attend it. It is open to adults as well. So parents are free. So contact Roxy, Roxy Balboa, the number one at gmail.com. You can also reach her at Roxy underscore Balboa on Telegram and Twitter. And make sure you're following her. You can contact any of my angels and ask any questions on any of my seminars. They can enroll you as well. You'd really be enjoying that. I have more seminars coming up, new ones coming up this year, and you definitely, oh, and let me just say to you too, if you want to pre-register for the election 2024 preview, that's going to be in November, I think it's November 9th and 10th, and I will be discussing the Senate House races for next year, my early bird projections for that, the DNC primary. I'll be talking about the GOP primary. I'll be talking about a host of election integrity questions, organizing for ballot harvesting where it's legal. We'll be discussing tactics when it comes to early voting. I'll be going through districts, and this is stuff I've started going through sequentially with members of Premium as well. So if you want to pre-register for that seminar, also email Roxy about that, and she'll get it back to you. And one last thing.